Well, hello. Sorry about if it's loud today, but family is home, so I apologize. But we're going to look into his worm bin and see what's going on. This is my red wigglers and blues. Today I went and got my food scraps, and the guy asked me today how my worms doing. I told him they're doing great. I says I have a system with both my red wigglers, blues, and euros, and I also have a worm bin outside, or a composting bin that I put the food scraps in, because I have so many food scraps compared to the volume of worms. But in a perfect world, if I was able to have enough worms to consume the food scraps, that would be the best option. But I'm good right now. This is my operation, my setup, and I'm happy because I am doing the composting method and making a difference for the environment. But I'm going to feed them, even though they have a lot of food scraps, I'm going to give them more food scraps. I'm going to move them over, because I'm going to show you on average what a pound of food scraps looks like. Let me give them some bedding to help with the temperature control. So I have some shredded up newspaper and shredded up cardboard, which I'm going to apply right there. But on average, a pound of food is like this. This is a little bit over a pound, which is frozen. I thawed it out a little bit, but it hasn't completely thawed out. But the worms are going to be good because I got some paper to insulate from the cold until it thaws out completely. And they'll come over and devour these food scraps. So I got it open. Like I said, it's about a pound of food. And once it breaks down, the worms will come back over here to devour these tasty treats. Let me cover it up right here with some of this newspaper. I'm going to cover it up with a little extra newspaper on top. And the worms will be coming over here pretty soon once it thaws out. Now it's time to look at my euros. This is my first batch of euros. They're all in there. There's no worms on the lid. I also want to take time out to give this company a plug for allowing me to get the food scraps, because I know you do have people that take advantage of the system. But no, my goal is to have worms compost, eat food scraps, and make worm castings. And I noticed with the worm chow that my worms are getting thicker. So yeah, the worm chow has allowed the European night crawlers to grow. So yeah, that worm chow is fattening these bad boys up. But yeah, it's been pretty wet, but for me, I do not mind, because my worms, like I say in previous videos, they're not drowning. They are mating, eating, and pooping. And that's the goal of raising worms. Making us these nice castings for me. So let me move them over and add that bedding into this bin to give them some of the food scraps. There we go, put that there. Give them a little bit more. Place it all on top right here. And I'm not going to add any water because there is moisture on this cantaloupe, which will soak into the newspaper and cardboard. And since these bad boys are getting fatter, let me get him off of there. I don't want him to be a frozen casualty. Sorry about that, Wormy. But yeah, I don't want him to be a frozen casualty, so I had to move him out of the way. I'm going to throw a little extra worm chow on top of this just to help keep fattening up these worms, these Euros. So there they go. I'm thinking, this is just my opinion, leave it in the comments box below, but I think worm chow would be best for European night crawlers because those are the worms that people use for bait. So you want to have some nice thick worms if you're selling worms to people that are fishermen or fisherwomen. But let me put this piece of paper on top. There they go. They got some paper to cover it up. And they're good to go. Now it's time to look at my other worm bin with the Euros. Now this is my European worm bin where the Europeans were crawling up the sides. As you notice, my first two bins, no worms are climbing up. So I'll move these down a tier to see if that would help because they were doing that migrating over to the top. But let's see. Not as bad as it was because the heat is down lower, so my worms are no longer climbing up to move towards this heat. So viewers, thank you for all of your feedback and your advice because that did help out a lot. Got some sprouts in here. I don't know what kind of sproutage, but it's going to be thrown back in there. A lot of the Europeans down here. Just moving some stuff all around. All around is worms everywhere. So let me make a little space for these worms to get to these other food scraps that I'm about to give to them. But yeah, there's worms all over the bin, so they're eating all over the place, so that's a good thing right there. That's what I like about worm composting. The worms do all the work. Every now and then we just have to come in and fluff up the bedding. So let me prepare them some bedding. Put that like that. Open up a container of this cantaloupes. Put it on top. Add some newspaper. Oh, there's a worm that got kind of cold. He shouldn't have been there. But I'm get him off of there because they don't like that. Sorry, Mr. Worm. But I was able to get him off of there. I'm covered up with another sheet of newspaper. Get these few worms off the side of the bin, the lid, and call this one good to go. Now, then it's time to check on my diversity and inclusion worm bin. Now, the diversity and inclusion worm bin was moved up to the top, so I'm going to see if they try to migrate up to the sides. But no. Seems like the only worm bin that gave me problems was the one with that one batch of Euros. Everybody else just stayed in the bin. This is where I prepared the food scraps last time. I wrapped it up in the newspaper with the pack my lunch method, or this bag, so the worms came over to consume those food scraps. I'm gonna hook them up right here with some food scraps. And as I did with the previous worm bins, I'm going to put that newspaper here. Try that newspaper. Set that like that right there. Get my scraps prepped. Should already have these open. I didn't, so there we go. Still some scraps up in here. I think I'm gonna give them a little more extra food because I like this worm bin the best. Don't tell my other worms I told you that. So let me give them a little extra. Move you up some. Okay, just covered up with some newspaper. We call this one good to go. Let's take a peek at the junk mail worm bin. There's a few worms in here, which has a little bit of the mix of red, blues, and Euros. But what I'm going to do I'm going to give them some more food. And this stuff right here, it's more of cocoa core from the previous worm bin, my worm bucket. Let me just give them some food scraps. I don't really want to go crazy with them, but they won't have any problems eating this because it will break down quick and turn into water, and just keep this bin saturated as well. But there they go. I'm just going to cover it up with some of this newspaper, the previous bedding. And sorry if I'm bumping you. We'll call this one good to go, but I will add more worms to this one in the spring, like I said before, because I want this one to go ahead and get more worms in it, because worm farming is addictive. Now let's look at the worm bucket. Here goes the worm bucket, and there is a little bit of mold in it. And what I think it is, it's from the worm chow when it doesn't have time to really, the worms don't really get to it fast enough. But what I'm going to do is give them a nice feeding of the remainder of the food scraps. They're going to get more of my banana peels and peppers, because with the worm bucket it has holes on the bottom of the two compartment setup that worms could go to the bottom, and liquid and stuff goes down there as well. So I'm going to give them more food that is dry with less moisture. Give them a little more extra bedding because the stuff's still frozen and thawing out, and I don't want to freeze them. So I'll do that. Put this right here, and I have a few extra leftovers of the food scraps that I'll put in another worm bin. And I don't even take stickers off anymore. I used to be gung-ho and try to take stickers off, but anymore, no, not worth the time. But here's another video to watch and learn about worms. I want to take time out to say thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share. And you guys and gals have a great day. Bye.